Hello everybody, welcome to 9-2 Circles. Alright, our learning objective for today is much like the last one, where we're going to identify the key features of circles and then use them to solve problems. Alright, so parabolas yesterday was kind of a lot. We took a concept that we had learned before and we applied a geometric twist to it. Well, today we're going to talk about circles, and fortunately, circles are perfectly symmetrical. So there's not really a lot of different things that we have to learn. There's not a difference between a horizontal circle and a vertical circle, right? Circles are just circles. So it's a little bit easier than it was yesterday, which is kind of nice. But let's just go and jump into it. So first of all, what is a circle? Well, just like yesterday when we were talking about conic sections, it's all about how we cut through the cone, right? And today we're going to talk about what if we cut perfectly horizontally through the cone? Well, that's going to give us a circle. Take a piece of paper, chop off the top of a cone, and then look at it and you'll notice that you have a circle, right? Makes sense. Okay, so key features of a circle. There is essentially one, right? The key feature is the radius. The radius is the distance from the center to any point on the circle. Here you'll notice that we have a circle with a radius of r. And then what I went ahead and did is I made a right triangle here with a horizontal distance of h, a vertical distance of k, and that'll help us get the standard form equation of a circle, which is this down here. So it's our h value shifted h units, right? And then it's our y value shifted k units, and then that equals our radius squared. So it's x minus h quantity squared plus y minus k quantity squared equals r squared. Important to notice when we're differentiating between things here is that the the x value is added to the y value, right? Both are squared, and then the radius is squared. And it's actually kind of neat because you can kind of see that this kind of works alongside the Pythagorean theorem, because a circle is essentially, or this formula is essentially created with those two things in mind. All right, so let's write the equation of a circle. So if we have a circle centered at -3, 5 and a radius of 5 halves, let's write the equation of this. All right, so we can use the center to give us the vertical and horizontal shift, right? So in other words, if we know that the center is at -3, 5, that means that it shifted to the left 3 and then it shifted up 5, right? So what we're going to do is we're going to plug in this -3 and 5 into our equation, right? So -3 is our h, so we're going to put that -3 in with our h, or with our x. So it's x minus -3, right? Plus y minus 5, right? Remember to put, just like when you're doing distance formula, write the negative and then put in the number, right? That way you don't mess this up. So, okay. And this, of course, equals our radius squared. Our radius is 5 halves, so we're going to square that. And then all we have to do for our last step is just kind of simplify this, right? Because we're just trying to find the equation. So if we take our x minus -3 squared, we're going to get x plus 3 squared. And then if we take our y minus 5 squared, that's just the same, right? Nothing changes. And then, of course, 5 over 2 squared is just going to be 5 squared over 2 squared, which is 25 over 4. And this is the fully simplified equation. So that would be the answer to our question, right? So the key things are to use the center to understand what our h and k are, and then plug them in, and then make sure that we simplify the radius. Okay, so let's do, this is going to look a little bit like the one we did yesterday with parabolas, where we're going to have to complete the square. But let's go and jump into this. So find the center and radius of a circle, okay? So given that x squared plus y squared plus 4x minus 8y plus 4 equals 0, find the center and the radius. Now, first of all, we know this is going to be a circle because we have a positive x and a positive y, right? If we have a positive x and a positive y, then we know that we're going to get the x squared plus the y squared, right? So we're going to have a circle. All right, so first thing we're going to do is we're going to separate x and y. So here we have an x squared and a y squared and a 4x and a -8x, right? And then this 4 is kind of randomly by itself, right? So what we're going to do is we're just going to rewrite it. We're just going to we're going to just format this a little differently. So we'll have x squared plus 4x plus y squared minus 8x, or minus 8y, sorry, plus 4 equals 0. We're going to remove the constants, right? So in this case, we don't really have any, well, our constant was just this 4, right? So we're going to get rid of the 4, right, by subtracting 4, so we'll get -4. And now we're going to complete the squares. You'll notice that I kind of separated the x's and the y's here. We're going to complete the square for x. we're going to complete the square for y, and then we're going to make sure that we add both of those new numbers to this side, right? Okay, so complete the square for this. In case you forgot, I'll go ahead and write this again over here, right? It's b over 2, and this whole quantity is squared, and this is how we complete the square, right? So if we look at our x values, our b would be 4, right? 4 divided by 2 is 2. 2 squared is 4, right? So we're going to add 4 to both sides. You see that here and here, right? And then for our y, we have -8. -8 divided by 2 is -4. -4 squared is 16. So on this side, we add 16, and on this side, we add 16, right? Okay, so now what we're going to do is we're just going to simplify this because, right, we're going to take this and we're going to reduce the form. Remember that this 4, right, if we look in the middle of the parentheses here, this b divided by 2 is what we're going to write out. You can also just think about it as like, what would we need to multiply this by in order to get it back into this form, right? And the answer is 2. So it's going to be x plus 2 squared. And then over here for the y, we have y minus 4 squared, right? The -8 divided by 2 is -4, right? And of course, again, if you take this and you factor it out, you get this, right? Okay, and then over here, we had -4 plus 4. Those will kind of cancel. And then plus 16. So when we simplify it, we get x plus 2 squared plus y minus 4 squared equals 16. And, well, what's the question asking us for? It's asking us for the center and the radius, right? Well, remember that the centers are the opposite of the values, so this should be x minus h, right? So h would be -2, and then this would be y minus k, and of course that makes k just 4, right? So our center is at -2 comma 4, and then our radius, remember that this is the equivalent to r squared, right? Remember that in our formula, this 16 at the end is actually r squared. So this 16 equals r squared, and we're just looking for the radius, right? So you take the square root of both sides. Of course, you can't have a negative radius, right? So our radius is just 4. All right, and that's it. That's literally everything, right? The only two things you're going to need to know is if they give you the stuff, can you make the equation? And then if they give you the equation, can you find the stuff, right? That's really all there is. It just kind of goes both of those ways. So, yeah, so first we talked about what a circle was. We learned how to write the equation if we're given the pieces, and then we learned how to find the pieces if we're given an equation. And that's circles. Easy peasy. All right. Next lesson is 9.3, where we talk about ellipses, which are kind of circles, but a little bit more weird looking, a little bit longer or wider. So, all right, I'll see you then.